Yes, this map is accurate, but it's also incredibly misleading.
So this is a 2020 election map broken down by county, and conservatives love to point out how much red there is in this map. But what they never tell you is that this is a map of where no one lives based on the census. This is largely because so much of it is federal land, and nobody can permanently live on federal land. And this is an election map adjusted for population density.
If you don't want to use my name or pronouns because I'm a trans person and you feel that your freedom of speech is being infringed on by me forcing you to use my pronouns, that's okay. You don't have to respect my identity because it doesn't line up with your idea of what reality is. But that also means that I have the freedom of speech to call you something that aligns with what my idea of reality is. So I'm gonna call you whiny little pissy bitch baby because that's what you're identifying as. And I'm sorry, I know that whiny little pissy bitch babies don't use pronouns, so in lieu of using you or they, every time I refer to whiny little bitch babies, I will do it in the full third person. Because whiny little bitchy piss babies' identities are really important to whiny little pissy bitch babies.
Stained glass window, candelabras, eat my ass like a chupacabra. Show me where you pissed from. Show me where you pissed from.
Out at lunch because the teacher said my straps were inappropriate.
They said your straps were inappropriate on your shirt?
Mm-hmm.
So they kicked you out at lunch?
Mm-hmm.
Did you get to finish your lunch?
Nope, I barely got to finish my bag of Cheetos.
They didn't let you eat all of your food?
No, I had to go to the nurse's office and she's always on calls and stuff. So it takes her, so I missed half.
Here's the thing. You are 7, right?
Yeah,
What grade are you in?
first grade.
You get to choose what goes on your body, okay? So next time that happens, I want you to tell your teacher to call me instead. And if you get sent home from a dress code, we're gonna go out to eat or something, all right? So you continue to wear whatever you think is cute, whatever you feel confident in, and if we break dress code, then I will come pick you up, okay? Because it's your body, and I will deal with the rest of the repercussions while you're in school, okay? When you're a grown-up, no one's gonna care. This is what I wore to work today. Look at my straps. This is what I wore to work. They don't care when you grow up. In the meantime, you decide what you're gonna wear, and I will make sure that you're being respected, and if somebody tries to tell you what you're doing is inappropriate, you don't let them do that. You tell them to call me instead. That's not their job to talk to you like that.
Okay, Mom.
All right?
If there's one thing that you should know about me, it's that my homosexual audacity leads me to believe I possess any and all required skills to complete whatever project I've set my mind to, despite having absolutely no previous experience in that particular craft. My motto has always been, no, I've never done that, but I am gay, so how hard could it be? Today, upholstering a chair. Tomorrow, who knows? Wig styling, dog grooming, competitive ice hockey. Who needs skills when you have gay?
As a disabled person, no, I don't want to just sit around all goddamn day. I want a fucking job that will accommodate me. I want to be able to work. I want to be able to function in society. It is not my fault that the world does not accommodate me.
I've been keeping this to myself since March, but I need to get it out there because people need to know what's going on. So my name is Ty, and I live in the Davis School District, which is actually investigated by the Department of Justice for Racism. And anyways, a couple months ago, this is back in March, I was in history class, and the kid next to me started saying a whole bunch of offensive things about Jewish people. I'm like, dude, don't say that, that's not okay. And so he started being racist toward me. He started saying things like, your ancestors picked the cotton that my hoodie was made out of. He called me the N-word. He told me, no, don't get pulled over the police because they'll beat you up because you're black, and all these offensive things. And anyways, me thinking that my school district had actually changed, that they'd taken the DOJ seriously, I went to my principal and told her what happened. And I go home and I get an email from my vice principal, who's actually black, that I had been suspended and accused of SA because I made the comment, if I was the president, because earlier I'd been talking about the war in Ukraine that just started, and I said, if I was the president of the United States, get a team of military professionals, which would include people that do things for money, to distract and take out Vladimir Putin, who is a mass murderer. He's killed millions of innocent Ukrainians. And I said that, and I get a team of military professionals, which would include that, And the school district accused me of SA, discrimination of someone's sexual orientation, and they suspended me. I said, okay, that's not okay. You know, that comment may have not been appropriate, but the punishment for that is way above. That's not acceptable. And so I went to the district because I thought it was my principal. It turns out it was the district, but when I talked to the district made it look like, oh, that was just a little mess up, we're all good. And so they actually called my parents after that and said, hey, we want to have a meeting to talk about the suspension. And so I was at this, they had a special program, like a extra, like special classes. And anyways, I was there, and the district loves to use that building for meetings and stuff because it's really nice. And anyways, the lady who I talked to, she's over the Office of Equal Opportunity. She's the one who I talked to at the district. Sorry if this story is getting confusing. Anyways, I went to her and I said, hey, we don't need to have this meeting. You just need to apologize to me because what you did, it wasn't okay, because it was actually her who suspended me. She made the decision on that, and she actually admitted that to me. And I said, hey, you just need to apologize. You know, that's what you did wasn't okay. Just simply say sorry. And she said, no, we're not going to do that. And she got in my face. She got all threatening, and she said, we're going to have this meeting. And I said, okay, I'm sorry, because I'm freaking out because I'm not used to being harassed by adults. And her coworker was also there. And anyways, her coworker was there, so if I ever went forward, they could make it look like I was lying. But anyways, she started harassing me. She started saying, you know, don't report this. And the crazy part is this lady's half black, if you can believe that. And she went to the district. She grew up in the district. She knows how bad it is. And so anyways, I'm like, okay, sorry. I'm trying to hold back tears. I'm freaking out. I'm shaking. And so they take me into this collab room, and they're like, call your dad. And so I called my dad, and she's like, why does that say your mom on your phone? And she's just all, it is in a form harassment. And they had also violated my freedom of speech and my constitutional rights and my civil rights. I may have mixed that up, but anyways, they violated that. And so anyways, I called my dad, and he didn't answer. I wish he would have, because maybe he could have heard how scared I was and done something. But anyways, I left, freaked out. The lady who's in charge of the Office of Equal Opportunity actually followed behind me very far back so I wouldn't notice that she was following behind me, but I caught her. And so anyways, a couple days later, they had the meeting with my parents, and they told me, this is personal, but it needs to be out there. So I saw her outside of my school office room, or the, like, whatever it is. And anyways, she was all smiling and happy. She's like, oh, today we get to take down a kid who is against racism. And so anyways, I freaked out and I ran away because these people are scary. And the thing is, I'm adopted. And so my adopted parents don't really accept that there is racism, that there is a history there. They don't accept that. They don't accept that black people are present in our society. And so anyways, I freaked out and I ran away. My dad's like, get here now or we're going to take everything away from you. And I said no. And there's some stuff that I'm not going to share. But anyways, because of that meeting, because of the district saying that, you know what, your kid, he's a serious threat to us. He's calling out racism. He's calling out things that just aren't okay. Racism, hatred, discrimination, and you need to stop him. So they put me on online school. They put a whole bunch of restrictions on my phone. And they got super restrictive. And they, you know, most parents punish their kids for doing things like drugs and doing other things, not for standing up for their people, not for standing up for what's right. And so anyways, I need to get this out there. If they see this, they'll probably take everything away from me. I'm used to their punishments by now. I've started an online business. If you want to buy something so I can afford to get out of here, because it's so bad here, and I need to get my story out there, because what happened to me is happening to so many more students, and we have to stop that. So thank you.
Hey, hold on. If you're here, that means that somewhere along the lines, TikTok knows that you support Indigenous sovereignty, land back, or maybe you're a queer person yourself. Listen, I've been trying to raise awareness for what I'm doing, but TikTok keeps suppressing my videos, also taking them down. I haven't broken any of the community guidelines or anything like that. So if you want to help me out, like my video, follow me, share it, do anything to just get me out there, get my links going. I got a GoFundMe in my bio for my land back defense. All right. So thank you so much. I appreciate you. I hope to see you around.
People who walk, use a wheelchair, and wait for buses often without shelters don't just disappear when it rains.
– 100%. 100 fucking percent. I'm not joking.
I grew up considered poor white trash just like many other white folks in this country, sometimes eating out of dumpsters and living off of ramen noodles and a 5-finger discount. My family went through evictions and I moved more times than I can count before the time I was 18. I joined the military out of high school to keep from staying poor white trash. Although I spent a decade in the military, I'm back to being considered poor white trash. I have Section 8 and food stamps. Sometimes I do have to hit a food pantry. Sometimes I don't have gas. I can't afford an attorney to fight for my child. I do struggle, but I don't struggle because I'm black. I struggle because I'm in poverty. If I was black, I would have to deal with poverty plus racism. Sure, privilege is probably not the right word to be using whenever it comes to white privilege, because being treated like a human is not a privilege, it's a right. But when you're being treated like you're human, to those who are being treated like they're less than human, it looks a lot like privilege. Learn up.
Show yourself, then show your art.
Your money's no good here. This is a bridal shop for women. Excuse me. We are women. Real women.
You know what?
How about I show you?
no.
I appreciate the fact that you're old-fashioned, but you don't have to accept us. You just have to take our money.
I wouldn't take your money if you gave me $1 million in gold. I refuse to sell you anything on principle. These designers are artists, and I won't let you turn their work into a freak show.
I can see from your sad little wedding band that you are married, but that doesn't mean that you've had any real contact with a woman for quite some time. Even a loving wife would avoid her impotent husband if his testicles hung so low that they grew filthy from dragging along the dirty floor once he took off his tighty-whities. And I doubt, no, excuse me, I know that no other women have paid you any mind because women aren't attracted to men who aren't tall enough to ride the cyclone at Coney Island. If not for pity, your closest proximity to a vagina would have been at your birth. So, we can excuse the fact that you cannot see the royalty gracing your store. I have seen my share of real men, and I can assure you, I am not looking at one right now. Ladies, let's go. My coin is too good for this place. But you haven't heard the last from me. Watch your neck. Angel, we're leaving.
All right. And I'm taking a little burnt champagne.
Dominic, get ready for your next appointment.
You get ready for it. I quit.
Absolutely nothing that I can't afford, and I found that almost everything is made of cardboard. And there's absolutely nothing I can't sing with weird chords, and I can run faster with no wind resistance.
For the last 2 years, I've been bringing Shabbat dinner to Holocaust survivors in New York. Today, I am visiting 8 survivors. 1/3 of US-based Holocaust survivors live below the poverty line and are often food insecure. I want to introduce you to someone that I've been visiting for years. Her name is Zahava, and she's a 92-year-old survivor from Hungary. When Zahava was 14, her and her entire family were taken to Auschwitz. This is the last surviving photo of them. Every single person in this photo was murdered, except for the 2 girls in the front row, Zahava and her sister. Zahava and her sister were put into forced labor and survived. In 1945, they were taken on a death march, and they were liberated by Soviet troops. They went back to their home in Hungary to find that Nazis were living in it and their entire family had been murdered. Zahava asked me to share her story so that everyone would know what they did to her family. Zahava went on to write 2 books about her story and become a librarian in the New York Public Library. She married a wonderful man and had 2 kids and grandkids. I asked her how she was able to survive, and she said, "You don't survive, but you find a way to live." She walked me out, and we made a plan for next week.
Good morning, bad news. Armed right-wing paramilitary fascists are following, photographing, stalking, and harassing people trying to vote in the midterm elections in a clear, widespread effort of voter intimidation that's been repeatedly ruled illegal by local and federal judges. It's gotten so bad that groups like Clean Elections USA have been explicitly barred in a federal ruling to stop openly carrying weapons or wearing body armor within 250 feet of voting drop boxes, along with a blanket restraining order against speaking to or yelling at voters dropping off their ballots, and additionally bans against filming voters along with their personally identifying information like license plate numbers, which are posted online in right-wing echo chambers that claim Democrats are paying quote-unquote mules to collect and deposit fraudulent ballots into drop boxes based on a thoroughly discredited conspiracy film called 2,000 Mules, created by convicted felon and far-right propagandist Dinesh D'Souza, which has literally zero verifiable sources or proof of these claims. And while these so-called ballot watchers are spending their nights stalking and screaming at voters and collecting license plates, curiously, they themselves are trying to hide their identities and covering up their own license plates. Because obviously the goal here is not to secure legitimate elections or root out voter fraud, but to threaten and intimidate voters in order to maintain the political power of a deteriorating minority party that tried to overthrow the last election a year and a half ago.
If you're a leftist, stitch this video with a terrible thing that capitalism has done.
The worst thing about capitalism, or the worst thing that capitalism has done, would be the transatlantic slave trade. As you can see below, by this map, you'll see Africans just being dissected by imperialism and colonization and theft and kidnapping of masses of African peoples just for the sake of profit. From north, south, east, even west, we shipped off to the Americas, some parts of Europe, even Asia, right? Just for the sake of landowners to gain wealth. This brutal form, this slavery, this brutal form of the exploitation is capitalism in its most horrendous form. Each and every day, the slaves had a quota that they had to meet. You know, being a capitalist, you set deadlines and goals and priorities for how you want production ran. And so if you didn't meet those, the slave master had every single right to do, or the overseer, every single right to do to punish the slave, if the enslaved African, right, for not producing enough. Or frankly, they did it just to assert dominance, however that may be. If the enslaved African were to show too much pride in their African heritage, or culturally speaking, they were punished for it. If they talked back to a certain way or responded without submission, they were punished for it. Even if you look at them funny, they were punished for it. I mean, my ancestors were worked like animals, day in and day out, day and night, for profit for the masters and profit for the economy. I mean, all the horrors that happened for centuries and centuries, I can barely list in one video alone. I mean, whether it be family separation, whether it be just the sake of kidnapping, or assault, physically, mentally, verbally, sexually even. I mean, there was a lot of premature death due to this slavery, this type of slavery. And this is a form, yet again, of capitalism. This is why I oppose capitalism, because American capitalism was birthed off of this very thing. And this is why I can never support it. And I can't stand black people who do, or anybody who does for that matter.
Hey everyone, this is going to be a list of 5 things I would never do as a therapist. Items 1 through 5 are going to be not to fucking scroll, because you know what time it is! Welcome back to Is It White Supremacy, where I, your host Shaheem, breaks down 15 different aspects of white supremacy culture. If you say you care about racism and want to gone in this lifetime, it's important for you to know what the it looks like. Look at me. Did I not say don't scroll? You're doing a good job, sweetie. Keep it going. So far, we have covered right to comfort, perfectionism, sense of urgency, defensiveness, quantity over quality, worship of the written word, only one right way, paternalism, either or thinking, power hoarding, fear of open conflict, individualism, and today we're going to be going over I'm the only one. This is going to be a brief one, so please pay attention and give some feedback below, goddammit. Per usual, I know you bitches don't like to read. I'm not judging you. I promise I don't like to read like that either. But read along if you want to. Or not just tell you not to scroll. All right. Point 1 is connected to individualism. It is the belief that if something is going to get done right, I have to do it. A lot of y'all going to feel hit when I swing with this one, but I'm going to say it anyway. But many of us internalize this one and have a very hard time reaching out for help and also bleeding on others when it comes to solving problems, because we are conditioned by a society that is based on this shit to not do it. Work on that if you need to. Point 2 is little or no ability to delegate work to others. And this is pretty self-explanatory, but again, I will check in with the other videos in this playlist. I think that does a much better job of explaining this. But basically, imagine somebody who feels like they have to solve everything on their own. It's hierarchical and, you know, Yeah, it places the power in a small group of people, if not like an individual person's hands. Cough, cough, Supreme Court justices. Anyways, you can scroll now. Bye.
The only relationship in the campaign is the lesbian CIA agent. This game is far left as fuck.
Yeah, Call of Duty is far left as fuck. Except for the part where, you know, you're projecting American influence by doing extrajudicial murder on anyone who stands in your way. And the part where pointing your guns at civilians is seen as a good thing. And the part where burning the American flag is seen as a bad thing. But they do have some representation, with a side character who is a lesbian, the most palatable to conservatives form of queerness there is. But other than that, yes, extremely left. Did Noam Chomsky write this game? Did Mao write this game?
Please stop scrolling. I'm so sorry about my voice, I'm just getting over COVID. But the Islamic Republic is starting to use the death penalty to try and crack down on protests. They have charged 1,000 people in Tehran alone for their involvement in anti-government protests. Without due process, these people are being charged with waging war against God, which is automatically the death penalty. Here's a list of some of the protesters that are already at risk of execution. We have already been able to save 3 protesters from the death penalty just by mass tweeting. The government is using the death penalty as a political tool to try and stop the rest of the protests. Please continue to say their names and be their voice.
I am happy to announce that my tribe, the Chappaquiddick Wampanoag, are thriving. We've been fortunate enough to receive multiple grants, are continuing my mom the last Songs' honor after her passing, and thanks to you, have raised over $66,000 in our fundraising campaign. I want to see this through, not just for our tribe, but for my mom, and reach our $100,000 goal. Contrary to popular belief, donating is not the only way to help. Please like, comment, share, all the things to help us get there. I appreciate you all so much and the love that you have sent me. Katapatash. The link will be in my bio.
I don't want to be with you anymore. That's okay. Wait, what? Yeah, thank you for telling me. I want to be with someone who actually...
Okay, one of my mutuals addressed this already in such a beautiful way. I'm gonna like drop the @ below so you can go look at their video if you want a more like composed response on why pop psychology is terrible and why white supremacy weaseling its way into mental health care is bad. I'm gonna tag them. Go look at their stuff because this is gonna be the ghetto response. And bitch, yes, I said ghetto. I'm from the hood. I can say that. Mind your business. I want y'all to be very fucking for real with me. You think that in order to be secure, you have to like completely deny yourself the emotional vulnerability of giving a fuck about the ending of a relationship? Be fucking, you know what? Y'all piss me off so bad on here. Sometimes I just wish I wasn't a therapist sometimes. Cause like, who is responding like that? Nobody. And it doesn't make you secure. It makes you not human.
Let's talk about white-on-white crime. How many times throughout your life have you heard the term white-on-white crime? Did your parents warn you about white-on-white crime and the dangers of predominantly white neighborhoods when you were growing up? If crime is typically carried out in the neighborhoods where people live and many towns and cities across the country are still significantly segregated by race, then why don't you hear more about white-on-white crime in predominantly white neighborhoods? Also, if historically speaking, white people as a group have carried out some of the most horrific, atrocious, vile, deplorable, and calculated acts of extreme violence, race riots, and genocide, why aren't you taught to fear white people in predominantly white neighborhoods? Why aren't you taught about sundown towns? Why don't you avoid predominantly white neighborhoods at night or drive through them really fast so you can get out as quickly as possible? Why aren't there community programs and nonprofits addressing the generational epidemic of white-on-white crime?
You're probably a leftist. Seriously, because leftism as a concept is really quite simple and only has a few central pillars which most people actually agree on. These being a desire to remove unfair inequalities and injustices, the removal of hierarchy from society, protecting those who can't protect themselves, and pushing humanity forward through cooperation and respect. And whilst these ideas have been expanded on and are interpreted differently by different people, I challenge you to find someone who actually genuinely disagrees with each one.
Remember this? When people were getting help messages from Shein workers? We couldn't confirm the validity of these images, but they did spark internet speculation into the conditions of Shein factories. And this undercover investigation proves our worst fears, that Shein workers are exploited horrifically. Let's talk about it. In one factory, workers are paid roughly $500 a month to make 500 items of clothing a day. In the other, workers are paid about 4 cents an item. Both factories only give workers 1 day off per month, and workers cite consistent 18-hour days. One worker clocked in for work at 8 a.m. and said he wouldn't be leaving until 3 a.m. This news is horrifying, but it's unfortunately not surprising. Because it's literally not possible to sell clothes for $2 and make it $100 billion profit without exploiting workers. You cannot list 6,000 new clothes to a website every single day humanely. What's extra terrifying is that this system of exploitation is highly successful. Shein makes more money than Zara and H&M combined. This means other companies will be incentivized to adopt Shein's exploitative business model. But the consequences extend outside of fast fashion, because Shein is creating an industry-wide expectation of exploitation. Take Amazon Prime. Before the service, it was acceptable for packages to deliver weeks after purchase. Now, we're mad if our order takes more than 2 days, to the extreme detriment of delivery drivers. The same can be said for Shein. By making cheap garments available, Shein is devaluing the labor of fashion and creating a consumer expectation that $2 is a fair price for a t-shirt.